Morning. If you've been watching the news, you know it. Bears seem to be everywhere these days. In the past couple weeks, we've seen video of two of them actually inside people's homes. What's drawing them in and what can we do to keep them out? Those are the questions we're putting to Ben Killam. He runs the Killam Bear Center up in New Hampshire. Last month, he took in 2 Connecticut cubs and is currently working to get them ready to be released back into the wild. Ben, thank you for being with us here on CT22. I want to get to those cubs because I know so many of our viewers have been following that story. But I want to just start broadly. We feel like there's been more bear encounters because we're getting video. Do you feel the same thing?
Well, the bear encounters are all about people's behavior. It's very little to do with bears. And, bears have a sense of smell that's better than a bloodhound. You leave your screens open and have food, aromatic food in the house. It's not hard for a bear to pick up that scent and break through a screen. If you're still feeding bears, i.e. having bird feeders out, you're attracting bears around your house, you're causing the problems. The bears are in their natural environment. Our homes happen to be in their home ranges, and we're the ones who can make accommodations that will allow the bears to live with us in a peaceful manner without getting in trouble.
Now, we've seen video recently just here on our station. We showed at the beginning of this show a bear peeking out of someone's window when the woman got home. We've seen bears inside of cars. Is it that people, you talked about behavior, is it that people are just expanding into the bears' territory and the bears are doing what's natural to them? Is that kind of a simple boiled down explanation of this?
That's a simple boiled down thing. They assume everything in their home range is part of their natural environment. And if it has food related to it, the average bear needs to put on 30% of its body weight in fat to hibernate and get through the winter. A female bear giving birth to cubs needs to put on 50% of her body weight in fat to get through the winter. So when you think about it, bears have to store calories like we store money. They have that's their survival, is putting that food on. If we store our money, we put it in a bank, but we wouldn't go spread $100 bills all around our neighborhood and have the expectation that nobody would pick any of them up. And that's kind of what we do to bears. We bring them into our neighborhoods, we get them close to houses, we leave the windows open, we let them get into our trash, we have bird feeders out, and then we blame the bear. The bear will end up getting, euthanized or loses its cubs or shot. And it's not the bear's fault. That could have all been prevented if the people were well enough educated and willing to go along with the recommendations of Fish and Game departments, and your case, Department of Environmental Services.
Yeah, and that's a great metaphor, the $100 bills, that hopefully helps people understand how they can fix their behavior. I want to talk to you about the protocol. So is there a line? I mean, you talk about bears getting shot or having to be euthanized. We've unfortunately had some cases like that here in Connecticut that we've covered. Is there a line where a bear has become too aggressive or too used to being around people or too close? I mean, what's the protocol?
Well, in most states, including New Hampshire, bears that get that close and our home entry bears generally get euthanized, or I should say killed, because they're not euthanized because there's something wrong with them. And again, the problem is the people's behavior around them. There are open dumpsters inside these communities. There's bird feeders still out. And then not taking the precautions of shutting your windows and, cooking your cookies and having your screen open is a bad recipe if you're having bears close to your house and your bird feeder or in your garbage.
Well, and with that being the outcome, thank goodness there's places like the Killam Bear Center. Tell us about those cubs. The well-known bear Bobby in the Newtown area had 2 4-month-old cubs. You are now in custody of those cubs. Give us the update. What's happening with the cubs and what's the process to get them released back out into the wild?
Well, they're doing very well. They have a lot of company. We have 24 cubs right now at our facility, and they seem to be coming in all the time from these same kind of circumstances where the mother bear shot at a chicken coop or because it mixed up with a family dog and the homeowner got nervous. And bears, fortunately, I got my PhD studying social behavior of bears. and they have a social behavior that mirrors human social behavior. They're able to make friends with strangers and cooperate with them. So we put new cubs into our enclosures. They make friends with the other cubs, and they all get along happily. They play, they wrestle, and carry on. We're still in the process of releasing the cubs we had from last year. And once they're all out, these cubs will go into an 11-acre forested enclosure where they'll continue to grow and mature. And next spring, when they're 17, 18 months old, they'll be ready for release into the wild.
What do you have to teach them during that time? I mean, is there lessons that you have to teach them that they have to learn in that enclosure you just talked about? I mean, they were so young when they lost their mother. Are there skills that mom needed to impart upon the cubs that haven't happened yet, or they just have these natural instincts, and once you put them out in the woods, they'll know what to do?
Well, that's, yeah, people often think that we have to teach them something, but, all cubs have a genome that's capable of responding to their natural environment. And they need that complex environment to mature. And they also have to have social skills to be able to engage other bears and communicate whether they want to be friends or they're going to be competing with them, or in some cases, bears have hierarchies. They have to fight with them. So, we prepare them for all levels of what's going on. Our natural enclosures have swamps and acorns and beech nuts, and we provide supplementally the natural foods that they would be eating at any given time. My first cubs that I raised, I documented all the foods they ate and what they rejected, and so we give them a broad variety of foods. They grow rapidly. We have to supplement them with food because the area is so small. But when they're done, a cub needs to be 17 or 18 months old before it can be released. There's development over time, and that parallels to human development over time. We wouldn't take our children and release them into New York City at 10 years old and expect them to survive. And bears are the same way. And so at 18 months old, they can go out and engage in another bear its age or older, make friends, travel with it, learn from it. They're social learners, so they pick up behavior from other bears very quickly, and these bears can be successful.
Well, very interesting stuff. I think I learned more about bears in the last 6 minutes than I had in the previous 42 years. That was super interesting. Ben Killam from the Killam Bear Center. Certainly good to hear about these bears and maybe some tips for people so you don't have more customers in the future. Thanks for being with us here on CT22.